Take a delightful stroll back in time in the historic harbour town of Yarmouth, where centuries of history whisper on the sea breeze. Today we're exploring ancient castle walls that once guarded England's shores, strolling through streets laid out by Norman hands and stepping onto a Victorian pier that has welcomed generations. From the echoes of steam at the former railway station and the beauty of the old tide mill, join me as I uncover the fascinating stories etched into every corner of this captivating coastal gem. Welcome to Yarmouth on the beautiful Isle of Wight. At first glance, it's a picture-perfect harbour town full of charm. Yarmouth is ancient, one of the oldest settlements on the island, with roots stretching back over 1,000 years, claiming to be England's second smallest town by population and area. It is located on the west coast of the Isle of Wight, just off the south coast of England. Our video last week gave you all the details about how to get to the island. Yarmouth is conveniently one of the docking harbours of the Wight Link ferry, which can take you over on foot or by car via Lymington in Hampshire. It is also well linked with the island bus service, so if you're located elsewhere, it's easy to get here on public transport. Check out the bus service website for more details on routes and pricing. I'm arriving by car, heading over the Western Yar River via the Yar Swing Bridge and following the Island Coaster tourist service that runs around the coast from Ryde to Yarmouth. The river is actually where the town gets its name, at the mouth of the River Yar. The bus is just turning off into the bus and ferry terminal. We'll carry on round the road to the main car park for the town, where there's plenty of parking. £6.20 for 4 hours is a bit steep, mind you. The town first appeared in records way back in 991 AD, but took shape after the Normans arrived. The map gives a clear picture of its layout. Around 1135, the local Lord Baldwin de Redvers laid out the streets in a neat grid pattern we still see today and granted Yarmouth its very first town charter. For a while it was a bustling place, even considered one of the most important ports on the south coast, alongside giants like Southampton and Portsmouth. But its success made it a target. French raiders attacked several times, burning the town down in 1377 and again in the 1540s. It was these attacks that led King Henry VIII to build a strong defence right here. This alleyway leads to the entrance of Yarmouth Castle. This mosaic on the wall of the alley was created by Helen Goodman and details the town's history from its Norman foundations in 1135. The castle was built between 1546 and 47. This was Henry VIII's last coastal fort, designed to protect the harbour and guard the western entrance to the Solent waterway. It's almost square, with its pointed arrowhead-shaped bastion on the corner. That was a cutting-edge Italian design back then, the first of its kind in England, much better for defence than the rounded ones on earlier forts. Its story begins in a time of tension between England, France and the Holy Roman Empire, especially after Henry VIII broke away from the Catholic Church. Fearing invasion, Henry launched a major programme to build modern forts along England's south coast. The final push to build here came after a French fleet battled Henry's navy right here in the Solent in 1545, the same battle where the famous Mary Rose sank. Its job was vital. Alongside Hurst Castle across the water, it guarded the western approach to the Solent, protecting key ports like Southampton and Portsmouth. It also defended Yarmouth's own harbour, preventing enemies from using the Isle of Wight as a stepping stone to invade England. When first built, it packed a punch, with 15 cannons and smaller guns manned by a garrison of about 20 soldiers. Inside, things changed over the years. Originally there was a central courtyard, but Under Queen Elizabeth I, the northern half was filled in to create this solid raised gun platform we see now, strong enough for heavy cannons facing the sea. The castle stood ready through many conflicts, including the English Civil War when it was held by the Parliament's forces, and wars against the Dutch and French. Interestingly, despite all its firepower, records suggest it never actually fired its guns in anger. One of the most colourful characters linked to the castle was Admiral Sir Robert Holmes. He became governor of the Isle of Wight in 1668 and made Yarmouth his base. He certainly left his mark. He filled in the castle's moat and built himself a grand mansion right next door, which is now the core of the George Hotel. He even had a private entrance made into the castle and entertained King Charles II in his Yarmouth home on 3 separate occasions. As naval technology moved on and the harbour silted up, the castle's military importance faded, though it was still used intermittently even during the World Wars. Since 1984, it's been cared for by English Heritage, allowing us to explore and imagine the centuries of history unfolding right here by the Solent. Leaving the castle, let's wander some of the streets. If you fancy a pint, Yarmouth has some historic pubs like the King's Head dating from the 16th century. On our left, the already mentioned George Hotel, built around 1700 on the site of Sir Robert Holmes' earlier house where he entertained the King. It became an inn back in 1764. As we reach the end of Quay Street, we find the Bugle Coaching Inn on Market Square. Parts of it date back to the 16th century, and it was a vital stop for travellers in the days of horse-drawn coaches before the railway. Stagecoach services ran from the square to Newport, Freshwater and Ventnor. It has been owned by a 4-generation island family for 3 decades. Now for a stroll along the waterfront. Yarmouth Pier is truly iconic, stretching out into the Solent. It opened back in 1876 during the Victorian era, mainly for the steam ferries connecting to the mainland. What's special is that it's the longest wooden pier in England still open to the public. Keeping a wooden pier like this standing for over 140 years takes a lot of work, battling the sea and tiny wood-boring creatures, hence a small £1 fee to walk it. Walking along, you get fantastic views across the Solent. You can see the ferries coming and going, yachts sailing by. It's always very busy. This whole area connects the town's history, the ancient port, the castle, the Victorian pier and today's harbour, all side by side. Back on dry land, we'll make our way to the church. The town's shopping area consists of an eclectic mix of boutique shops, galleries and antique stores, not forgetting the ice cream and sweet shops synonymous with the seaside. They line the high street and the main square where we are now. To see a full list of stores, check out the town's website. There's lots of information on visiting and where to stay. This handsome brick building in the square is the town hall, rebuilt in 1763. It was the centre of town business. Yarmouth had a quirky political past as a rotten borough where just a few families controlled who became the members of Parliament. That system ended with reforms in 1832. At the time, they were under the influence of 2 prominent families, the Lees and the Holmeses. It was Thomas Lord Holmes, the Member of Parliament and Governor of the Isle of Wight, who generously commissioned the rebuilding of the hall in the neoclassical style. This act of civic-mindedness was likely tied to the support he received from the borough during his election. The new town hall was designed with practicality in mind. The ground floor featured open arches, creating a covered marketplace where traders could sell their goods come rain or shine. Upstairs, a spacious assembly room provided a venue for meetings, social gatherings, and the administration of the town's affairs. While the original ground floor arches have been filled in with windows over time, the building retains its elegant charm and is today an antique shop and still available for hire. Next door is Gyra House, which was apparently once part of the hall, now a charming guest house in the heart of the town. Ahead of us is St James's Church. The current building was finished in 1626, replacing earlier churches destroyed by the French raids before Henry's defences. Over the centuries, it's undergone various alterations and expansions reflecting the changing architectural styles and the needs of its growing congregation. The tower, a prominent landmark in Yarmouth's skyline, largely dates back to the 15th century. The top part was added later in 1831, partially as a beacon for sailors. Inside, the church is currently undergoing some renovation work, and as we walk through the chancel, ahead of us is the high altar, a 1947 gift in memory of John Howard Robinson. The early altar was moved to the Lady Chapel. The bright stained glass window depicts Jesus blessing children and was installed in 1867 by Reverend Blackburn in memory of his youngest son who died aged 24. The Holmes Chapel was added to the south side of the chancel in 1692 for the prominent family. The primary reason was to house the impressive monument to Sir Robert Holmes that stands over life-size in white marble. He is depicted leaning against a cannon and holding a rolled document. Legend says that Holmes captured a ship carrying an unfinished statue of Louis XIV. Learning who it was for, he ordered the sculptor to finish it in his likeness. Whether it's true or not, it's a great story. Holmes went on to be governor of the Isle of Wight, buying the position, in office from 1667 to 1692 when he died, having amassed a fortune from the rights to keep 2/3 of any wreckage or salvage and spoils from enemy ships in the waters around the island. His descendants used the money to set up charities to support local apprentices. Also in the chancel, but obscured by scaffolding, you will find memorials to the Rushworth family. Edward Rushworth married Catherine, the great-granddaughter of Sir Robert Holmes. Rushworth built Farringford House in Freshwater Bay, which we visited in last week's video. This became the home of the acclaimed Victorian poet Alfred Lord Tennyson. Do check out that video, it was a beautiful place to visit, part of our Exploring West Wight adventure last week that saw us uncover other little gems like this gorgeous thatched church. Just heading out of the centre of Yarmouth now, as we have a lunch appointment. We're heading to the old railway station. It's been converted into a lovely cafe and it's very hard to get a booking. So it's going to be pretty busy, but it looks like a very pretty area. So we'll head there now. Ahead of us is Yarmouth Mill on the banks of Thorley Brook and the Western Yar estuary. It's an incredibly pretty part of the town and is a great place for wildlife. Its tidal waters, salt marsh and mudflats are home to a wide range of plants and animals that are specially adapted to living in the challenging conditions. The estuary's birds have different adaptations too, with a beak length that helps them feed in a certain way. This means that many different birds can feed, nest and shelter in the habitats provided by the estuary. The Western Yar is so important to wildlife it is designated a site of special scientific interest. You can't miss this impressive building, the Old Mill and Mill House, both just one building. This sturdy brick structure was built around 1793. There was an even earlier, probably wooden mill here before that, perhaps from around the 1660s. Built on a stone base with a slate roof, the building had 4 stories and 6 bays, the 3 northern bays being the mill and the southern bays the mill house. It was a tidal mill, cleverly using the power of the sea to grind corn. The incoming tide would fill the large pond beside it, and as the tide went out, the trapped water was released to turn the water wheel and power the machinery. It stopped working as a mill around the end of the 19th century when the area silted up, and eventually it became a private home. For a time it was even the house of the famous historian A.J.P. Taylor. It's another fascinating piece of Yarmouth's varied history. If we were to carry on ahead, we would take the circular Western Yar Ramble. It's 3.8 miles of flat, beautiful scenery, and will take you about 2 hours to walk, ending up back in the town. We, however, are going to be late for lunch if we don't get a move on. So what's the story of the railway here? The station served the freshwater Yarmouth and Newport Railway, which opened back in 1889. The idea was to connect the quieter western end of the island with Newport and the ferry at Yarmouth, but the line struggled financially. It served a sparsely populated area, and crucially, it never quite connected properly with the ferry pier. People and goods had to be moved through the town streets.
There it is. So I'm walking right on the rails now of the old railway.
The railway company had money problems from the start, even going bankrupt at one point, and it just never made enough money. So in 1953, 10 years before the big beaching cuts across Britain, this line closed for good. Today though, much of the old line, especially between here and Freshwater, is a lovely path for walkers and cyclists.
I think this is a cycle route as well, so actually look, you can hire bicycles from here 9 till 5, and you can then cycle on down the railway line. Right, little signal box. I think that was added at a later date.
Off the Rails took ownership of the station in 2014 and has gone from strength to strength in this unique location that pulls on its railway heritage with a wonderful quirky setting. When I booked in advance a week before, which is essential, I was disappointed there was already no room sitting outside, but to be honest, I preferred it inside. Sitting on the old tube train seating and being able to read all the interesting stories and photos of the railway whilst I had my lunch There is a great deal of theatre to the experience, and the food and menu is like an old newspaper, with not just the food offerings but also the history of the railway. Here is a quick look at the menu. You can pause it to read it properly. Whether you're vegan, gluten-free or dairy-free, they have something for everyone. They also accept well-behaved dogs inside, which is a big tick. It's full of railway memorabilia, making you feel like you've stepped back into the age of steam. I loved it. So what did I eat? Well, it was a monster fish and chip sandwich called Trackside. Jumbo fish fingers, pea puree, lemon tartare and chips. I twigged halfway through though that the chips are laid out like railway sleepers in the sandwich. Ingenious. I just about managed it all.
Well, that was without doubt the best fish finger sandwich I've ever had. Quite incredible, a complete meal. Cost about £15, but I'm not going to have any dinner tonight, so that really was my dinner. It was absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend coming here.
I'm making my way back towards the town centre, but I'm going to walk via the far end of the high street, as even though it's a small town, the high street is quite long and includes some wonderful buildings. There's a lovely green common area at this end with views of the Solent as the road bends round, and a lovely spot here with benches and uninterrupted views. This end of the high street is much quieter and made up of charming residential homes and no doubt holiday lets. The town once had 4 gated entrances during the medieval period. This was the site of one of them. It's unlikely that any remnants of the walls remain today. You can feel the history in these streets, still following that Norman grid pattern laid out centuries ago. This grand house, North House, had me scratching my head as I couldn't find any information on its past. If you know something, please add a comment. We're still heading down the high street back into the centre, and the residential homes return to shops and boutiques. The Blue Crab is supposed to be a very good fishy place. Gyra Place down beside the town hall leads to a hidden area with access to another pub, the Wheatsheaf, along with a courtyard and a few cute shops and a cafe, so don't miss exploring these little side streets. We are back in the area around the castle and ferry terminal. Let's take a stroll along the harbour. Earlier in the video we mentioned various ways to travel to Yarmouth, but I never considered the sailing boat. Yarmouth Harbour is a sought-after destination, a haven for visiting seafarers. Its charming harbour is brimming with maritime allure and attracts a steady stream of yachts and motorboats throughout the year. Catering for this continuous influx of vessels, the harbour provides over 150 visitor berths each day. These berths are allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. Head to the harbour website for more information on arriving and berthing here. Let's have a look at what's coming next week as we continue our visit to the Isle of Wight. If you are captivated by thatched cottages and charming villages, join us in the quintessentially English village of God's Hill. Nestled in the heart of the Isle of Wight's rolling countryside, this village features beautiful chocolate box houses, tea rooms and interesting craft shops. In addition to an imposing medieval church that is worth the uphill climb, God's Hill boasts a village within a village, its own quite incredible model village that has delighted visitors for over 70 years. As a bonus, we'll also visit some lovely rescued donkeys at the sanctuary close by. It's going to be another exciting and delightful adventure on the Isle of Wight.
Well, that's it from Yarmouth. What a fantastic little town. So much history, really pretty. Oh my God, that lunch was amazing. Thanks so much for joining us. Join us again for more from the Isle of Wight. We've got more to come. Do subscribe, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you again on the next video. Thanks a lot.